The White House Correspondents Association says critics of Saturday night's annual gala have a right to be upset. The group says comedian Michelle Wolf's routine was not in the spirit of its mission. Wolf made fun of the president and the media, but some argue her jokes about White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders went too far. In a tweet this morning, President Trump wrote, "The White House Correspondents' Dinner is dead," and went on to call the event a total disaster and an embarrassment. Here's what both critics and supporters had to say about the night.
It's 2018 and I'm a woman, so you cannot shut me up. Unless you have Michael Cohen wire me $130,000.
Michelle Wolf didn't pull any punches during her 19-minute routine. Her toughest jabs seemed to aim at White House staffers, including Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye.
Some female journalists said Wolf unfairly criticized Sanders' physical appearance, calling the routine deplorable.
I have to say, I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia in The Handmaid's Tale.
Others, including many prominent comedians, came to Wolf's defense, calling her hilarious and funny. Speaking on CNN the next morning, White House Correspondents Association President Margaret Tlaib stood by her decision to feature Wolf.
Do you think she crossed the line?
I think that she brought to the night what she thought was important to say, and that her goal may not have been press unity and everyone rallying around the room to support journalism.
In a conversation with CBS This Morning Saturday, Wolf previewed her routine.
Comedy shouldn't be about what you want to hear. It should be about what you didn't know you wanted to hear.
On Twitter, President Trump, who was not in attendance for the second year in a row, called the event an embarrassment to everyone associated with it. Put dinner to rest or start over.
Donald Trump.
He also made reference to the 2011 dinner, where he had his own uncomfortable experience being roasted by President Obama.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
Tlaib says the White House Correspondents Association does not review the comedian's monologue before it's delivered. Wolf defended herself on social media, saying the Sanders jokes were about her despicable behavior. She later posted this picture of herself on Instagram, saying she is not in the spirit of the mission. Michael Graham is a CBSN political contributor and a CBS News columnist. Good to see you, Michael.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
So you wrote a really great, interesting column for CBSNews.com about the dinner titled "Who's to Blame for Michelle Wolf?" Obviously a play on the famous play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. But I want to ask you, you make some really interesting points here. And the first one that you make is Michelle Wolf was doing what she is supposed to do, which is she's a comedian. She's supposed to tell jokes. And many instances when comedians tell jokes, they are offensive to a lot of people.
Yeah, look, I did stand-up comedy for a living for 6 years, and my number one job on stage was not to get warm pats on the back or thumbs up from the Association of Women's Voters. It was to get laughs, period. And when someone says, "Oh my gosh, did you see Michelle Wolf? She was vulgar. She was partisan. She was mean-spirited." I said, "Yeah, that's called her act." That's literally what she does for a living. Being upset by her is like being upset when you invite Hannibal Lecter to dinner and find out one of your guests and a bottle of Chianti is missing. This is their job. The question is, what did the White House Correspondents Dinner tell us by inviting her? And I think it's what you've heard the phrase the Kinsley gaffe, named after Michael Kinsley, the great D.C. pundit from back in the 80s and 90s. And he said a gaffe now is not when someone says something by mistake. A gaffe now is when someone inadvertently tells you the truth. And what the White House Correspondents Dinner and the Washington Press Corps in general did was inadvertently tell America, look, this is really what we think of Trump, of his supporters, of his staff. This is how we talk about you people. And all they did, in a sense, was confirm what many people, particularly Trump supporters, already believed about the D.C. elites, if you will, which is that they hate Trump's voters. They'll never give Trump a break, and you can't trust them for nonpartisan, unbiased reporting.
So why is this roast getting so much more hate in previous years? And I suspect that a lot of people may have short-term memories. Maybe people don't remember Don Imus and President Clinton. Some people have suggested that that was one of the, some of the things that Imus said about Clinton while he was sitting right there were pretty bad. Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers. I mean, it feels like we're at this point every year the day after.
Well, I think a couple of reasons. One is her language as just a standard, language. When I did stand up for a living, I used to get gigs that were corporate gigs, and they would tell you don't work blue, or here are the parameters, because the audience, even though in a club you might tell jokes with naughty words, in a corporate gig you don't. And they didn't do that. She was working definitely her midnight at the Improv set. There were no holds barred. I mean, direct references to female anatomy, dropping the F-bomb. And I think that was kind of just off-putting at a certain level. But then there was another level, too, where it was attacking people as people. I think the most offensive thing that Michelle Wolf said about Sarah Huckabee Sanders was when she called her the female version of an Uncle Tom. Now, the phrase Uncle Tom right away is already freighted. But to say to somebody, hey, look, your problem isn't policy or disagreements, tax cuts. Your problem is that you are despicable, and as Michelle Wolf said the next day, and that you are betraying people and your race or your sex, whatever. I mean, that's not, comedy. That's just good old-fashioned name-calling.
So let me play a little bit of what she said about Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Right.
And of course we have Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale. Mike Pence, if you haven't seen it, you would love it. Every time Sarah steps up to the podium, I get excited because I'm not really sure what we're going to get. A press briefing, a bunch of lies, or divided into softball teams. It's shirts and skins, and this time don't be such a little Jim Acosta. I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies.
Look, Michael, those comments are getting a lot of play. Some prominent female journalists have called Michelle Wolf out for those comments, saying they were about Sarah Huckabee Sanders' appearance. She responded on Twitter saying it wasn't about her appearance. It's about the lies that she says from the podium. Essentially, that the podium that she's supposed to be there representing the president to the American press. What do you say?
I say that, it obviously references her appearance at a certain level, and that's just a dumb place to go if you're trying to make a point. But once again, that's her response was, you're mad at me? Sarah Huckabee Sanders is despicable. And this is why they just need to cancel the comics. If you're going to go up on stage and you're going to mock foibles, for example, I'm a big believer in self-deprecating material. She told almost no jokes, Michelle Wolf, about herself or jokes that mocked the press corps. That's what this event is supposed to be about, not unloading both barrels of your partisan hate against the president, who, by the way, looks very smart by not showing up. He should have looked like a guy who wasn't willing to come and take his good-natured roasting. Now everyone goes, well, shoot, I wouldn't have gone to that either, Mr. President. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, she did at the end say, look, the media, the elite media sitting there, and I was there, full disclosure, is responsible for the rise of President Trump. I see that there's not a lot of play on those words. Also, at the very end, she said Flint still doesn't have clean water. I haven't seen a lot of reaction to that. But we can keep talking about this for, quite some time, because it's what a lot of people are talking about today. But we're going to have to leave it there. Michael Graham, always great to have you, my friend. Thank you.